name is Amitai. I'm from Where2Go. Where2Go is simplifying the end-to-end supply chain across commerce by building a platform to connect business to warehouses and directly to customers. I didn't want to try to memorize that. Since there is no I in SDET, I'm part of a team. I work with 5 other SDETs to develop the platform we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about how we have the test automation in. The idea is we were working with the SRE to try to find a way to verify both network problems, data layer problems, upstream dependency issues. And what we did is leverage our existing API tests to monitor our infrastructure. We decided we were going greenfield. We decided to build our tests using Axios for the API testing and the Ava.js framework for the actual test framework, which allowed us a lot of flexibility. We used libraries like .enflow, which allows us to easily run against any environment we want from the development prod or local environment. And we have some spare seconds. Okay, we iterated over the API tests in order to verify the environment variables are set up correctly, that the environments have all the info. We're able to get the tokens. We're able to get the basic order creation in. The results are reported through Ava's framework, or you can run TAP, and then you can get X unit results as well, which gives you more flexibility to upload to other platforms. Okay, at a certain point we decided to move to Circle CI. That allows us to run nightly builds, but also allows any developer, DevOps, someone to run it off the cloud and not our specific local box. Once we were up there, we have the ability to do curl and postman commands. And I'm sure Circle CI has an AI because it says great job, so I'm sure that's a subjective opinion. And then after that, that ability worked with the SRE to invent HAL. HAL is a code that allows anybody through Slack to run our tests in any environment and using any test suite we want to set up. So now anyone in any channel in Slack can test them. Once things were stable, we used the cron jobs to keep running the smoke tests in all environments. Every 5 minutes, we kick off all 3 environments that we have and verify that things are correct. And then we wanted a way to pay attention only to the failures and not have to monitor Circle CI all the time. So we built code to send the events to Datadog, and only from a specific branch that we care about, the smoke test branch. So failures and other tests won't get there. Here we have an example. We're able to send not only the fact that it failed, but also a specific reason. The results of the actual test are sent into Datadog, and that way we can start debugging what happens. Datadog allowed it to create monitors, so we could take any failures that we see in the logs and send those results into Slack. We didn't have any failures when I recorded this, and we, because of the amount of data that's given over the week, we erase it every week, so I don't have any example of failures off this screen to show. But here's an example of a specific problem we found a while back. We can already see here that we were getting undefined instead of a 200. So this is the Slack message. We're then able to click in from the Slack message into Circle CI and see the actual log, and our DevOps were able to dig in a little and see that this is a possible Cloudflare issue that was bringing us an undefined token. So basically, that allows us the monitoring an actual test. So these tests are exercising the system the way a customer would and not just monitoring actual infrastructure. And that allows production to be successful running on production and check confidence in anything we have. Examples that were found using the system were JCloud Keycloak issues, Kong API, WMS provider was down, code issues obviously, and Kafka problems that we had. And basically this system allows us to move faster and to avoid surprises. So thank you very much.
Side project securely. Hi, my name is Chris Gruhl with Achilles, but I wanted to tell you about, because everybody who's DevOps engineers, you probably have some sort of side project. So how you just may not know how to do it in a secure way that's still scalable. We're going to use like stuff like GitHub and Google Kubernetes Engine, Google Domains, Let's Encrypt, Aquilus for secrets management, but only the free tier, right? Because it's a SaaS, right? It's a SaaS for secrets management where the customer controls their stuff. Now, so we got the Kubernetes cluster. We're going to create the cert manager namespace, the Aquilus namespace, the mega app, because this is our side project, right? It's going to serve us everything we need. So we need to create these namespaces. And then after we create the namespaces, we're going to install cert manager in there, and set up like the cluster issuer so we can have it automatically do the TLS stuff for us. And then we're going to, next we're going to go into like the mega app area, right? So we'll install like our Nginx ingress controller, which will work in conjunction with the cert manager, and it'll give us all the TLS that we need, right? So we have nice TLS. Fantastic. For free, too. So then what we need to do is we need to wire up all our DNS entries for our gateway, right? Because the gateway needs to run, it needs to be accessible, it needs to have, TLS entries for it. The gateway is our extension, right? And so we set it to whatever the load balancer IP is for that, for mega app. Then we're going to install the gateway into the Aquilus Helm, just using a Helm chart. Now we have a service, now we've got an ingress, it automatically connects, and now we have a gateway. The nice thing about the gateway is that is our local instance, right? We can just talk to that bad boy, and we're good. It talks to the network. But now we want to set up Kubernetes authentication. So we're going to sign up. We're going to get the token reviewer service count in the Aquilus namespace. That's going to be our guy. He's the one that we're going to give, the cluster role binding permission so that you can validate all the JOTs of everyone, right? So we do that, right? We create that cluster role binding. So we've got service count in Aquilus token reviewer, and we give it the token reviewer role binding. So now it can look up all the Kubernetes JOT authentication and tell whether or not we're allowed, right? That app is in that namespace and in that pod name and all that information, right? So then we want to install the Kubernetes secrets injector. We do that through a Helm chart installation in the same Aquilus namespace. Cool. Once that is up and running, then we do the next part, which is we're going to install like our MegaDB, right? We'll use just MySQL. It's fine. We install that with a Helm chart, and we put that on there. So now we have the database that our application needs. Cool. And we're going to do this we're going to connect that database to that gateway. And that gateway is going to be in charge of creating just-in-time temporary credentials each and every time that application needs credentials, right? It'll just be stored into a file, and we'll get it. And it'll be constantly being rotated, constantly being updated. So then we create the auth method inside Aquilus, right? We're going to set up the target inside Aquilus. We're going to set up the dynamic secret. And then we start creating the Kubernetes auth method, right? Once the auth method, that allows us to authenticate in that namespace just by adding annotations, right? But we're going to give it permissions after we create that auth method. So we have an access role. It's going to create those permissions. We're going to name it so that it's this specific namespace, this specific service count name, this specific pod name, all the information that's specific to it. And then we need to whitelist that namespace. So we add a label on it that says the name equals the name of the namespace. Cool. That's whitelisting that namespace to allow the secrets injector to put secrets in there. Awesome. What's next? Well, now we're going to install our mega app in there, right? And because we've installed it in there, we've given it all the annotations, and it's in the right service count, now we need to have the act of it being deployed into that cluster, it's going to trigger the secrets injector using a webhook, right? The webhook mutation. And it's going to say, let's see, I need you to prove that you are who you say you are. So it's going to use its, the token reviewer, or the service count. It's going to get that service count. It's going to give it to the token reviewer, and the token reviewer, since it has that permission, it's going to say, yep, looks good. Awesome. That's it. The authentication is done. The application just either gets an environment variable or it gets a file. Awesome. Right? And then at that point, we have handled authentication, we've handled authorization, we've got horizontal pod auto scaling all around, and this thing can scale, and it's secure, and you're doing a great job. So that's it. Thanks. 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to have Devs Ops Days back in person. I'm Manjula, and today I'll talk about optical zooming your way to greater effectiveness. So whether you're on a technical path or managerial path, Being able to zoom in and zoom out on issues can be the differentiating factor to take your career to the next level. So today I'll talk about optical zoom, how it ties back into our thought process, and how it can feed into our decision quality. So optical zoom. Say you have a picture on your phone, and you want to look at the eye clearly. So you magnify it. What the camera does is to crop the picture and then magnify it to fill the frame. So when it does that, the pixels are stretched, there's loss of information, and you're left with poor quality. Look at the eye, and the second one, you can't see the license plate. So to solve this problem, smartphone manufacturers have come up with what they call optical zoom. Now, optical zoom is really neat. What it does is to use multiple cameras. So when you shoot a picture, you have one camera that takes care of the background. That's a wide-angle lens, and then you have another telephoto lens to focus on the foreground, and then you might have a low-light camera, a depth camera. So what's happening here is you have one picture, one scenario to take, but you're getting information from different perspectives, and all these data points together is what builds you a picture of such superior quality. That is optical zoom. So just hold that thought, and let's revisit scenarios at work with this lens. So say you're in some of those meetings, right, where you have some people talking at the strategy layer, and then you have others who just want to give me the details. I want to get my hands dirty on this. So these hardened preferences lead to poor decision quality. And then you have other situations, like say when you have a production problem. We all know the drill. You zoom into the code, find the root cause, release a fix, and you take care of the problem today. But what you might also choose to do is to zoom out. Maybe go look at your dashboard, and then you see multiple microservices are failing at the same time. So then you say, hey, is this calling a third-party service? So you're zooming out, and you're solving something and building a better foundation for the future. So this is the essence of strategic thinking, dynamically zooming in and zooming out. So it's nothing new. We know about this. It's even been mentioned way, way back, over 3,000 years ago. The military strategist has said, strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. And tactics without strategy is just a lot of noise. And yet, even today, we see what I like to call the pie-in-the-sky syndrome. So you have a strategy, and it's totally unaware of the conditions on the ground. So once execution starts, then even a challenge can become a rude shock. So I really love this proof of concept approach, where you have small wins to demonstrate the feasibility of the broad approach. So friends, I don't know what other situations you come across, but if you're interested in this, just go ahead. You can search on this, dive deep to get more information. But at the very least, I would say for the takeaway today would be that whether you're wrestling with code, or you're sitting in a meeting with clients, or you're helping your 7-year-old with homework, when you glance at your smartphone, let that be an opportunity to take a pause, ask yourself this question, and see if you need to dive into details for the situation, or you just need to zoom out to get perspective. And once you start applying this dynamic model, I'm sure you'll see finding it easy to get away from the tunnel vision, to increase your decision quality, and to grow your personal brand. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Tanya Jackson. I'm currently the QA manager for a little sports brand company that caters mostly to runners. So we're going to talk about artificial intelligence testing. Just like the development community, the QA community has some neat tools to help us do our jobs faster and more efficiently. The newest buzz is called artificial intelligence testing, And as you can see, AI is a sharp contrast to hard-coded automation scripts like Selenium or Appium. AI recognizes elements on a screen like a human. It sees buttons, images, and text. It is then trained to handle those elements even when they move locations on a screen, and in contrast to hard-coded scripts that break each time there's a change. So let's see how AI can improve our DevOps experience. So some issues with testing. Testing is usually the bottleneck because of the need for speed. And another presentation showed all of the code that was written in order for automation to work, right? The second issue is like with traditional automation using Selenium, it requires a ton of maintenance, man hours, and you have to have a coding or development background and experience. So, Mr. Walt Disney says, the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. So here are some testing solutions to those issues that I had before. So AI testing is fast, is low code or either no code. It increases your test coverage. It's a Selenium alternative. It helps with, of course, automation regression testing. Of course, it gives you a vision into your end-to-end user journeys. It trains your bots, which we call auto-healing in AI testing. You can test any device on any platform, meaning gaming, video, web, whatever you're testing. You can test at scale, of course. The last thing is visual reporting. Instead of having a lot of paper reports or, however you do your reporting, it actually gives you a visual report right at the end of a run. And here are some of the players in the market, at least that I've dealt with, that's Test AI, Mabel, Capato, and also Apply Tools. Just some numbers for you. So we reduce manual efforts by 70% using artificial intelligence. We reduce maintenance by 40%. We enhance adaptability by 40%. We increase our competitive advantage by 75%. And we get better customer interaction at 70%. And in summary, you don't have to be a developer or an engineer to accomplish automation. AI provides a fun, quick, and beneficial way to automate pretty much just about anything. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Tanya. My name's Rob Gordick, and I am an Agilist for Brown & Brown Insurance, very large company, and what I love to do is I love to create learning cultures. Learning cultures is how we get better, faster, stronger, and help our company, and more importantly, our customer faster. What I'm going to talk about, my intention is to talk about how to connect monitoring to plan within DevOps. This is how we can get the most learning in that one critical junction where those two chevrons meet. Jin Kim talks about this in his second way, when we talk about principles. It's about shortening and amplifying that feedback loop. A lot of us here in the room today, what we focus on is more on the shortening of that racetrack, right? You're going around. I'm saying that you got to amplify the value going through the racetrack. Can we just call it value ops? Think about it. The reason that we're here is to make money. I go through the track to make money, value. We can use cool things like Pirate Canvas to start looking at what are those metrics that the skills in this room can do. We can track second use of a feature. Here's a bunch of other metrics we could do for each part of that pirate canvas. So we could actually stack all those metrics together, and what do you got? You get a curve. You get an S-curve. That's our demand curve. That's powerful. This helps business. The skills in this room can do that. I want to know what the inflection point is, where we take off. I need to know that because I'm investing time and money with my teams. I want to shift it to the left. I want to make more money. The skills in this room can help me get that. Here's some tips. I want to validate my original hypothesis. I didn't just go into a 2-week sprint not understanding what I'm trying to go after. I had a hypothesis, a hunch. Prove it. That's what this team in here can help those Scrum teams or those Agile teams get to. I can take that curve, that demand curve of the early adopters of not just a product, of a feature. I got a new feature. I want to track it with A/B testing. There's your fixed cost. Here's something really cool probably none of you have seen. I could take variable cost compared to your fixed cost of your team. The skills of this room can help me get to that. I can go ahead and take my revenue. I can put my cumulative flow diagram in there. That's cool. That's really cool because now I can see if I'm focusing on a certain epic or a feature, how can I drive money? So let's look at review. What's a hypothesis? I'm going to build something. I'm going to measure something. I'm going to learn something. What book is that? Eric Ries, Lean Startup. Read that book. This room, with that principle, can really drive some amazing results. It's about powering through those loops, getting through that DevOps, figure eight track as fast as possible, proving a hypothesis. This team here, we can provide the metrics that proves it. What is effective second way? It's to ideate, build, deliver, log, report, prove. That's what we want. So, what about learning effectively? You gotta track the usage of your systems. It's not just about, did I have an environment that's, bombing out? It's about how it's used and how it drives money. So when I bring my report card back to my dad to show a feedback loop, oh boy, I hope I did good. It's about validating our assumptions. The skills in this room can drive that. So at the end of the day, it's about amplifying the feedback, tying it, monitoring to plan, enables us to effectively learn. That's the culture we want. My name's Rob Gordick. Go amplify your feedback loop.